Good evening, folks. This is Mike. Welcome back to another episode of Genre Files. And this weekend, my friends and I are doing westerns. So I've chosen this film called The Way West. This is a film made in 1967, and I picked this up a while ago from Kino Lorber. I'd never seen the film before, but I'm very glad that I got it. I just picked it up out of curiosity because I like Robert Mitchum. Three great male actors from this era. We have Kirk Douglas, Robert Mitchum, and Richard Widmark star in this film together. Great combination of talent there. And we also have Lola Albright, one of my favorite actresses from the 60s. We have Jack Elam. We have Harry Carey Jr. We also have the feature film debut of a young actress named Sally Field, who up until that time had done some television, but this was her first feature. So she was about 20 years old. Really nice seeing Sally Field. She's very good at it. So the film is about a group of people starting out in Missouri and taking the Oregon Trail, a wagon train. And so in a way, it's kind of a standard plot that was used in many, many films, certainly a lot of TV shows, the TV series Wagon Train. And there were a lot of Westerns that were made in the 1960s. It was a big, popular time for Westerns. All the great stars like these guys were still around. We had John Wayne, we had Jimmy Stewart, we had Richard Boone, plus a very young fellow from the new generation named Clint Eastwood was just starting out in the 1960s. So Westerns were really popular. I'm not sure why I never got around to seeing this, but I didn't. But I'm glad that I picked it up. It's a good movie, sort of an epic, 122 minutes long, great location cinematography in Arizona, California. And it's really, I don't know, in a way there's nothing terribly new that's going on. Like I said, it's people going on a wagon train. So you have all the same conflicts with Indians and buffalo stampedes and crossing dangerous rivers and weather tragedies, people fighting, people getting injured, and jealousy, all that sort of thing. But it's done very well. Not Richard Widmark. Kirk Douglas plays a U.S. Senator named William Tadlock, who is the guy who gets the whole wagon train started, and he's in charge of the whole thing. He runs it like he's a military man or a tyrant, and he gains the respect and the loyalty of the people on the train, but he also pisses them off quite often, and a lot of people turn against him. But there's a lot of drama back and forth where people are alternately with him and then they're against him, and a lot of people are fighting. Of course, men are always fighting with each other, but it's Kirk Douglas was never one of my top actors, but I have to admit I'm more interested in him now after seeing this, so I need to explore Kirk Douglas a little bit more. Robert Mitchum plays a guy who is a guide, and he's hired by Richard Widmark to help them go on the trip. And Robert Mitchum is a man that's kind of lost his spirit and his lust for life. He was married to an Indian woman who was killed, and he just doesn't want to do this anymore, but he's talked into it by Kirk Douglas. And Richard Widmark plays a farmer and a rancher married to beautiful Lola Albright, and they have a teenage son. They're living kind of a nice, idyllic life on a very nice ranch that they built up together. But he decides to pull up stakes and go along on this Oregon Trail trip because he's just an adventurer and he just wants to go. So his wife is not happy about the idea, but she goes along with him. Anyway, so like I said, a lot of typical things happen. One of the things that is kind of new, maybe because this is the mid to late 60s and sensibilities are starting to change a little bit for what people expect to see in films, but there's a little more of a sexual theme than what you might have seen in earlier films. Sally Field plays a young teenage girl named Mercy, who is traveling with her family, and she is young and ready for love, and she's kind of teasing a lot of guys, and a lot of guys are looking at her, and she's looking at them, and she makes the mistake of getting involved with a married man, which ends up in tragedy. And along the way, there are all sorts of, as I said, personal conflicts and fights, and really a very good adventure. And I'm very glad that I saw this. So I would give this a very high recommendation if you like Westerns from that era. Certainly these are great actors. Now, Andrew McLaughlin was the director. He was the son of the very great, very talented actor Victor McLaglen. And Andrew McLaglen, I looked him up on Wikipedia. I knew I'd seen that name before on certain TV shows or films, but I didn't know that he had directed so many westerns. He worked with all the famous cowboy actors of that day, like John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart. He directed films like McClintock, Shenandoah, The Rare Breed, The Undefeated, Chisholm. He directed 96 episodes of Gunsmoke, 116 episodes of Have Gun Will Travel with Richard Boone. He also directed TV shows like Perry Mason, Rawhide, The Virginian, and it just went on from there. A lot of things also out of that genre, but he certainly knew what he was doing in making westerns. So this is a lot of fun, a lot of adventure, and I don't know, I just give it a nice high recommendation. I will watch this again many times probably. And oh, one more thing. It also happens to be the first film, an uncredited appearance by a guy named Sam Elliott. And I guess I didn't know this until I looked it up on Wikipedia afterward to get some information about it. And it said that he just played an uncredited role as a guy in one of the towns that they're in. So he's probably in it for about 4 hot seconds, but I didn't notice him. And now I want to go back and look and see if I can find Sam Elliott. So he was very, very young when he was doing this. So, all right, this is probably Sam Elliott without the mustache, but if he actually used that voice, I think I would have recognized it, but I need to go back and check it out. Okay, The Way West, and thank you for watching. If anybody's seen this, let me know what you think, and be sure to watch everybody else's videos for Genre Files this week, and I will see you later.